Good morning to all. Welcome back to our course on the C programming language. In today's session, I am going to discuss about the part 4 of structures in C. So the topic what I am going to concentrate under this session is accessing members of the structure. So in this we'll be giving examples regarding how we can access the members of a single structure and how we are going to access the members of a nested structure. Both of these examples we'll discuss. But before going to this accessing members, let us discuss are there any operators that support the accessing of members of a structure? Let us see what a structure is. We have seen the definition of the structure, and let me take an example of the person structure where it is having the name. Similarly, it is having the gender. And similarly it is having the location, and let me take the salary like this. Right. So this is how I have defined the structure person, and we know that the variables that are declared inside the structure definition are called as the members of the structure. So here the members of this structure person are the name, gender, location and salary. Now let me create a structure variable. So I start my data type as struct person, and let me declare a one variable, that is p1. Since this is the declaration statement and the compiler allocates the memory in the C programming language at the time of declaration, p1 will be allocated sufficient memory which is equal to the sum of memories allocated for each and every member of the structure. In the morning session, we have seen that this P1 has 105 bytes of allocation. But basically it is 108 bytes. This concept also we have explained in the previous sessions. So P1 will be allocated 105 contiguous bytes, and they will be having different names based upon these members: name, gender, location and salary. So the point here is how I can access the member. For example, I want to access the salary of person P1. What is that I need, right? So there are two different types of accessing the members. Two different types of operators that are used to access the members of the structure. The first one is the dot operator, and the second one is the arrow operator. These two operators are special operators that are used to access the members of the structures. Why we require these two means the dot operator is used to access the members of the structure via the structure variable, normal structure variable. Whereas if you consider this arrow operator, this is used to access the members of the structure but by using the pointer to structure variable. So when you declare the pointers to structures, in such case you will be using the arrow operator to access the members of the structure, and when you declare the normal variables, then you will be using the dot operator to access the members of the structure. Here in this example we can see that P1 is a normal variable. normal structure variable. So we can make use of this dot operator to access the members of the structure. And coming to this pointers to structure, let us postpone the discussion of this pointers to structure to the next sessions. Why? Because we need to complete the concept of pointers to understand this pointers to structures concept. So for this reason, so we are not going to concentrate on this arrow operator. We are going to concentrate only on this dot operator. So the syntax for accessing the members of the structure is, it should have the structure variable followed by dot operator followed by member name. So this is the syntax you have to follow to access any member of the structure. For example, if I want to access the gender of person P1, the P1 is the structure variable followed by dot, and then I can access the member like this, variable name. Similarly, if I want to access the salary of the person P1, I can write it as P1 dot salary. In the similar way, when I want to access the location of P1, I can access it like this, P1 dot location. So these are all the various methods, not various methods, these are the various members you can access from P1. For suppose, assume that you have another variable P2 of type struct person. In such case, if you want to access the gender of P2, you have to give P2, that is the structure variable name, dot gender. Similarly, if you want to access the salary of P2, you can access it as P2 dot salary. This is how we can access the members of the structure by using the normal structure variables. Here P1 and P2 are normal structure variables. Therefore, the operator that we have to use is the dot operator. Now for example, the single structure, accessing members of single structure we have completed. Now let us move our discussion to the accessing of members of nested structures. Let us take the same example, class person char name of 50 and another member is gender. Let me take the another member as struct date of birth and embedded method I am using here in the nested structure. Here I make use of int day, int month, int year, and I told that when you are making use of the embedded structure, you have to declare the variable like this. DOB is the structure variable, normal structure variable of date of birth. So I close this one. I make like this P1. Now the point here is very important. If I want to access the gender of P1, since gender is a normal character variable that belongs to the class person structure, I can directly access it by P1 dot gender. Similarly, if I want to access the name of the structure, sorry, not class, this is struct. If I want to access the name of P1, I can directly access it as P1 dot name. But if I want to access the day of P1, you can observe here that day is not a normal member of struct person. It is a structure member of date of birth which is embedded within struct person. So you have to access this day using the structure variable of date of birth, that is DOB. So DOB dot day, up to here it is okay, but this DOB belongs to P1, so you have to put one more dot operator like this. So to access the day of struct person, since day is a member of another embedded structure, you can access it by using the name of the outer structure dot name of the inner structure dot the member name. This is very important. In the similar fashion, if I have another variable called P2 like this. Now if I want to access the name of P2, it is very easy. So you can directly put P2 dot name. But if I want to access the month of P2, that P2 month is a member of DOB. So first you have to access it like this. DOB dot month, and this DOB can be accessed by using P2 dot DOB dot month, that is outer structure dot inner structure dot the member name. So this is how you are going to access the members of the structure. Right. So this is all about the accessing members of a structure. Let us have a quick recap of what we have discussed in today's session. In today's session, we have concentrated on the accessing members of the structure. In that, we have seen two examples how we can access the members of a normal structure, and the second one is how we can access the members of a nested structure. So there are two ways, two types of operators that support the member access of a structure. The first one is the dot operator, and the second one is the arrow operator. Dot operator is used to access the members of a structure using the normal structure variable, whereas the arrow operator is used to access the members of the structure using pointer to structure. So the syntax for accessing the members is the structure variable followed by member access operator, that is dot followed by member name. So we have seen it with an example. If you have the struct person like this, I can access any member of the struct person using the syntax of the struct variable name, where P1 is the struct variable, dot gender, that is the member name. Like that you can access the salary of P1, location of P1, anything you can access. And similarly, if you have another person P2 of, that is P2 is a variable of type struct person, you can access any member like gender, salary, etc. in this one. And coming to the last point, the accessing of elements from the nested structure. Here we have given an example of struct person, within which we have the inner structure called as struct date of birth. If I want to access the normal variables, it is a direct case where you can use the variable name dot member name. But if you want to access the inner member of the inner data structure, so you have to use a chain of dot operators, that is the outer variable name dot inner structure variable name dot member name. This is called a chain of dot operators. So that's all for today's session, and thank you one and all for joining the session.